Okay, so Willie,
Well,
do you
look,
hear me
I
now?
think if we start with if you present yourself briefly.
Okay, very briefly. I mean, very briefly. I'm a choreographer and director, and I'm focused on contemporary dance and contemporary theater, like mostly like post-dramatic forms of theater. So it's not like this blah blah blah, like the speaking in classical theater. You know what I mean. So and the overlapping of contemporary dance and contemporary theater. This is what I'm busy with mainly, and I'm not really working with already made dramas or already made concepts, let's to say like this, but it's more like author's plays. But and this is the thing what I am proposing for this project, what I propose them to be spectactive, and I'm also actor, so I acted a lot in in films, in theater. I danced a lot, and I'm also like organizer of a contemporary dance festival in Bratislava. This will be the 16th year already, and I'm a little, let's just say, a little culture activist, which means like I'm kind of I let myself to be confronted with a lot of culture political norms, which yeah, I'm, for example, in one partnership of of local department when I'm kind of representing the local non-state culture. This is basically about me. But the thing what I'm always like to kind of trying to put the main focus is theater and dance, like as an artist. So yeah, that's it.
Well, hello from Dublin. It's very nice to actually meet you on a screen. Unfortunately, we'd hoped to welcome you to our city in about 2 weeks' time last year, but we know what happened then, so it wasn't possible to do so. So it's nice finally now to catch up with you. So without asking you to have kind of a conversation that I'm sure you've had many times over the last year, how has the pandemic been for you? You sound like you're a very busy person, artistically, culturally. How has the pandemic been for you? What was your experience?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it has stopped for a while. I mean, everything is just like in a waiting mode, like what will be. So hard to say. I mean, on one hand, as probably for everybody, I mean, we have time to invent new things and to kind of reinvent and rethink things what are already on the table. But on the other hand, mm, you need feedback definitely. So not everything can be done just on the paper, and you just need feedback basically. So if there is a little chance, I mean, I always pushed during this 1 year to meet and to present things, even if it was like for very little public, or if it was like rehearsal, me and one actor, or me and me only in a theater place. So yeah, so this is yeah, but I think it's general for everybody. It's generally for everybody. Like the situation is very strange, and we, on one hand, I tried to learn out of that new things, and on the other hand, I try to fight. For example, we were exposed to cuts, like financial cuts, and this was like these were a few demonstrations, really like literally demonstrations, and letters and writings and discussions, not still winning on the full level, but I mean trying to do so, like to our society is strange, but just to explain people like we need it, and to explain like this is not just kind of like few happy people playing around. um, so that's it
Yeah,
basically.
because there
Pandemic.
was this discussion about what is essential work and is cultural work essential? Is it more or less essential than other activities? So people had to defend for what maybe for a long time was taken for granted as being essential. There was a question then, newly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose at the very beginning there was, if you like, a rush to digital because we can't reach our audiences physically. We must make some digital version, whether something that's new for digital or a digital version of what would otherwise be a performance. How has that been for you?
I mean, being honest, I just don't get that. I somehow, even like the technologies, we are ready for it, like, like laptops and wireless, everything is just wireless and blah, blah, blah. So digital. I understand on one hand, and the very first months I was totally like, okay, let's do. I mean, this can be a solution, but then I'm not really happy with it, to be honest. And I was in September, I was lucky more or less because I could do my presentation work in progress, for example, of this project for Be SpectACTive live. It was like limited 60 people there, but still it was live, so we were totally lucky. um because as I said before, like the direct feedback, I mean, theater is not like film. I'm doing also film, as an actor, but this is not, I mean, as we probably all know, you definitely too, uh, obviously, that the film and theater, like much, like very different formats. So if we want to reach the public in a nice way and in a right way, and not to scare them, not to let them be scared out of theater. Like, is this theater what we are now showing you? My goodness, then we need, like, I don't know, 4 cameras, perfect lighting, and like these more technological or technical conditions, not to let them not to make them running out of the tablets or of the screens, actually, of the.
Sure, because attention is a really scarce commodity online. In a way, if a person is in a theater, usually they can't leave, or it's considered not to be polite to leave in some countries anyway. But they can leave you immediately if you lose their attention for a moment, or if they wonder about something else that they have to do. So, yeah, and it's also the sense in which maybe you're perceived to be a bit against progress because you resist the digital. But I think that we lose something very valuable in gathering if we just immediately say, oh no, this is much easier, we can just put it on the screen. I think there's something really important in people gathering, not just the moment of the performance, but everything before and afterwards, the beer you have, the journey you take, however you take it. So, and then also to take it, what you see in a screen is mediated. Not everybody has a screen, not everybody has Wi-Fi. So in a way, as old-fashioned as paying your ticket and going to performances and sitting with a small number of people, many fewer than maybe you could reach online, although usually for free, I think there's something really valuable in that. So I asked myself the question, what will be the legacy of this time? Will it mean we replace live performance with digital? Will it mean that for some activities like meetings or conversations where we already know the people, perhaps that we can do it on a Zoom instead of getting on a plane for an hour-long meeting? But also, will it make us value differently actually how scarce performance is? Because we're always thinking about how to try and make a performance more accessible, more people seeing it is better. But in a way, maybe there's a value in a relatively small group of people gathering. What do you think?
I mean, that's a question. I mean, for me, this is like, it's not a general answer to this. So in each type of a project, I mean, like performance or festival or a presentation or discussion, um, that's something. On one hand, I really like it because you have to be creative and you have to be open to think over all those things, and kind of to invent something, simply to be, as you said, not just to place it digital, I mean, and now you watch it, just really be. And I think somehow I feel like thinking of my projects, there can be a way like where we can combine different approaches, and to kind of like maybe combine digital and live, as you said, or so I mean, this is really to think every little single project differently, and
Yeah.
to take it as a separate like segment or element, like to um, for our creativity, if I can be a little bit pathetic. So um, I don't know, but maybe for example, like for one my project, we were thinking like to use um, how do you call this, like drones actually,
Yeah.
to use drones and to combine drones, simple camera this static shot, and then live action only, for example, for like sound level, on the sound level. So, and to combine this, so people who could be there like present, they are gonna have very different experience than out of like from them watching it on the comp. um yeah, so like personally
No, I mean,
there is not really general answer, that's it,
of
like
course there
so.
isn't. And I asked you many different questions at once, but, and you make a very good point in that, of course, artists are creative. So on the one hand, I know a lot of people, when the pandemic happened, they said, I have no energy, I'm dealing with this, I have no time for art. Other people were saying, hey, I think I can find a way around this. And also artists are very often are the early adopters of new technologies, and they adopt them critically rather than saying, this technology is great. They go, okay, what does it mean? Where is the power? What can I do with it? How can I subvert the relationships? So that's yeah, that's really interesting to see what has been happening. So you started to talk about your project Green is the Color. Tell me what your idea for it was, let's say this time last year, and if there has been any change in your thinking over the period and how you will now approach realizing it.
Well, when I started to think of the project, when I prepared the very first draft of it, of course, pandemic was not on the table, so we didn't know. And mm then, I mean, last year when I was preparing like the work in progress thing, the very first presentation for Nitra, first for Ljubljana and then for Nitra, the pandemic was already there, but we still kind of we were hoping like this is gonna be it, like okay, November, December, final cut, and then new live again. No, not happening. So actually, since January, I am in kind of like 1 month roughly. I'm in this process of this rethinking what I told you before, like how to deal with this, how to deal with this situation. Obviously, continuously being here with us and will be with us. Um, there is there is one point, like I don't want to lose the live thing, definitely not. So I'm not going to change it completely for an online format or for a film format. Maybe for, I mean, if for online, then definitely only for a film. So then I would totally change it. Like I
Sure.
would need an editor, I would need like a cutting studio, you know, and all these things. But no. So I don't want to. Very first important point, I don't want to lose the live thing. And then when I was thinking, probably this Ireland and Belgium residencies, they're just not gonna be. So we were thinking with my production lady here, like to have a like a connection person in connect, yeah, kind of a person who is in the team, in the artistic team, probably, who is going to help us like to do what probably we would do when I would be in Ireland or I would be in Belgium. And we would use these materials like shootings. We would incorporate them into our piece as a video material or something, what I normally do anyway. So but this would be a little help. But the communication is for me the basics. So it's not just like I invent something, but I would need to communicate, because what was the value for myself, like to go in Ireland, would be like to see the local community and to see the local things and to build something out of that, which is not happening. So that's why I was thinking like I would really need somebody like to communicate with in Dublin or in Kortrijk, to help me to find and to define and to uh, mm, and yeah, and to build the situation out of what we have, at least out of these shootings or out of the local research, what she can do in Ireland or in Belgium. So, and then I would pray that the presentation can be again live, because I honestly, I don't want to do, as I told many times already, I don't want to do online presentation only. But if then I don't know. I really have to think hard now, because the like I know my deadline, so it's like October now, so I have half a year. But this half year I definitely need to spend with communicating with you or with somebody from Dublin.
Maybe tell us a little bit more about Green as the Color, about the content of the project rather than the impact of
Okay.
the pandemic on it,
Okay.
please.
Okay. So green is the color actually is some of critics actually they said like this is ecological project, which is on one hand, but on the other hand my approach to all this is actually is more psychological than ecological, because psychology directly leads us to ecology, like because if we, I mean, if I do this very, very big shortcut, I mean, if we want less, then the ecology, then the sky is more and more blue. Like if it is like this. So, and the performance is actually based on the purpose, like, okay, how can we help the ecology getting better or be better, or like the nature growing faster and nicer and well, simply. Um, and there is this condition, or there is a kind of there is a program of a Slovak government. Like this is of course like science fiction thing. Like whole Slovakia is getting green by um, exporting, let's like to put it really rough, exporting all inhabitants of Slovakia out of Slovakia. So Slovakia will stay only green by it, like, so it's gonna be only trees, like nature, green, really green Slovakia, like because what we hear, like everything has to be green, but okay, if we put it into radical thing, then no no humans, no humans are there if it is just green. And
Sure.
so on this premise, actually I built the whole dramatic situation, like what does it mean, like to export everybody out, where to import them, that's the question. And so we are playing with the situations around this premise. And then the other question what I try to answer is like, if we want, definitely we need, definitely we know there is a need for change of a system. But if we can reach the system change by only political means, or if can be helpful, like to behave differently as a person, as like me, like separating papers and plastics and all the stuff like this. So, and this is the question, because I think we can reach change only by political means,
Mm-hmm.
but there are certain conditions. So these are two main themes, like how to make things green and how to reach the the basic changes of society. And all these little dramatic situations, all these little dramatic actions, they're around this
Mm.
theme.
So if we think about a country without citizens is a bit like an audience without or sorry, a performance without an audience, without spectators. We should also think about this as a project that's realized in the context of a European framework around relationship with audiences and new relationships with audiences. Do you think, and look, what is the separation between performance and politics? Is politics a kind of performance? And what do you think will be the change? We spoke about your art for sure, but what will be the changed relationship with an audience through this time? Will you be really happy to see them?
Again, I'm afraid I just don't get it. Like if I'm happy to see again.
Well, it's something that was taken for granted. I mean, this project is all about a new relationship with new audiences, different ways of making the work, different ways of reflecting concerns in the work. This audience has not been available for the last year, certainly not in the way we expected.
Mhm.
When they come back, will you say, "Oh no, I found another way. It's okay"? Like, will you export them like you export the Slovaks to make, make following the metaphor, or will it be a new relationship, a new power dynamic, a new sympathy?
Mhm. Well, I mean, the project is based. I was thinking of this also. Like, the project was made not for a normal theater. Normal, I mean, black box and shiki-miki theater in the center of capital, for example. No, I had a, I put my condition on the paper. Like, I would like really to do it in a let's say like traditional culture house in a village somewhere. And oh fuck, we have to
Yeah, but we just keep going.
okay. And then so this culture house actually invites us, and I work with these local people there in this little village close to Nitra. And so they were there, they were present in the performance. Like little kids were for example doing this welcoming committee of the politician coming to present the idea of exporting all Slovaks. And plus we were like, they were really helping us, like these local women and men, like helping us to um, kind of to build the piece itself. So, and I really want to present this piece not as a not theater. It has to be a slight fiction. So it's like I present a political statement of a politician to people, but they don't know that this was it. Like we really want to.
If you just want to pick up from, sorry, if you want to pick from, you want to present a statement, because we can just do an edit. So you present a political statement where it wasn't clear that it was this, that it might have been a kind of fiction.
Yeah, so I don't want to present this piece as a as a theater only. Of course, like people will get that like via the like through the performance, like step by step, like this is something strange. But first it's a political, it's a presentation of political statement of a real politician coming to that and that village, presenting this and this as a solution for ecology or for change the system. And then of course we like the only, well, the only, not the only, but the main purpose is just to start a discussion what was happening actually in Nitra after the presentation. Like, I mean, fuck, if this is if this somebody really wants to set up, I mean, as a solution, then what us? I mean, so people were starting to question like, if this was really true, like what? And they didn't know like if this is a science fiction or this is a fiction or if this is a theater. So um, um, it's like, it's more like to work with them. I want to present this as a workshop or as a seminar to these people. um, Plus there is a whole section of there is a questionnaire. We had a little computers, actually everybody of us, everybody of the public had a little computer. And this was like the Greek, the ancient Greek old democracy kind of principle, like the direct democracy principles or the direct democracy voting. So they could vote for everything. There were like, I don't know, 20 or 30 questions. How and where do they want to go with this possible solution, ecological solution. So they were really voting, and the fine the end of the performance actually depends, sorry of my English, depends on how they voted. So this is like a lot of little bits how I worked with them. So voting and presenting it not only as drama, then working with them locally by preparing the piece, actually not really saying them this is going to be a piece, saying them like this is going to be a political and culture action. And so yeah.
Funny, it makes it, in fact, had you come to Dublin last year and we were in the pub having a beer, I probably would have mentioned a text by Jonathan Swift, same guy who wrote Gulliver's Travels. This piece is called A Modest Proposal. It's from the early 18th century. And in this, he suggests a way to relieve the state of the burden of children, and not in this case citizens, by eating them. So instead of it's another ecological solution, kind of, but from centuries before. But unfortunately, we didn't get to have that conversation. We have run out of time for this conversation. But thank you very much for your time, for presenting the project. And I do hope that I will get to welcome you to Dublin someday. And I look forward to all of us being able to move around a bit more conscientiously, having learned from the pandemic, but meeting each other again, which for me is the thing that I really miss. Is screens are fine, but there's no substitute for me. And I hope it's not a reactionary thing to say there's no substitute for live performance, whether it be in the village or in a grand opera house or wherever. I miss it. So I can't wait to be back. Thank you.
Thank you. The same. Thank you for having this possibility, like to present and to speak with you.